I mean, we have seen the clear changes and the outlook by the new outlook of the Kenya Police Service by President Uhuru Kenyatta. Afterwards, he was handed over the report by the Minister for Interior and Coordination of National Government, Dr. Fred Matiang'i. But does it address the software issues here? Because we are just witnessing the hardware here. I mean, the growing number of cases reported of the Kenya Police because of negligence, incompetence, and tainted total image of the Kenya Police Service. Does it address the long-standing grievances that the public had when it comes to the Kenya Police Service? Because it's 8 years since we promulgated the new constitution, and this has been on the cards. Is it the right time, and are we going or heading in the right direction?
Okay, change is always welcome, as long as the change is good to the people that it is being advanced to. You see, what I would have expected to happen before we went to this form of changing the police and all those cosmetic look that we are having.
Okay.
There has been so many issues surrounding the police force, so many complaints, so many fears that citizens have raised before, that I thought should have been addressed first. Like we should have had situations where the police who were involved in extrajudicial killing, especially last year, and going back, would have been held to account, so that when this rosy picture now is being created to Kenyans that actually we are having change, we could have felt something. But now you see we are just coming here and we are being given blue uniforms and told now there's change. But that does not really capture. However, that we have amalgamated the administration police and the Kenya police is a good thing. Because if you look at the National Police Service Act and Articles 24 and 27, they clearly highlight the roles and the duties of the administration police in 24 and the Kenya police in 27. If you go further and check from 24A to D, 27A to D, you will realize that those functions are quite similar. They are in fact the same. So that means that we have been having parallel police force, which is actually undertaking almost similar duties. So that has been ballooning our wages, costs, and so much more. So bringing them together so that we have a harmonious unit working together is welcome. Yes.
Daniel Orogo, let me come to you on this. When there is the fusion or the coming together of the administration police AP or the regular police, I mean, it creates, again, the bulk of reduction as part of the austerity measures by President Uhuru Kenyatta, who announced them last Friday. But does it also speak to the long-standing grievance of corruption, which has, I mean, tainted the image of police in the country? Because Kenyans and the public at large complain about cases of corruption ongoing in police stations across the country, where it has turned out to be, where police stations across the country have turned out to be money-minting operation centers where police are involved in endemic corruption, which is unending and looks like it has, I mean, anchored itself within the institution of the police and also generally across state agencies in the country. Will it address or tame corruption?
Well, I think, like you've asked and like Fred has alluded to, I'm one of the Kenyans probably who took time to understand the role of an AP. You know, I don't know whether it's myself or everybody. I've really never understood what administrative police does. You know, apart from I see them probably in chief's camps, in all these things, and I really don't always understand what is the role of an administrative police. But that said and done, I foresee a situation of a serious conflict, and if you can always see the command chain, always when you look at the issues of grassroots, if you are probably always arrested by a regular police, or probably, and for example, Jamhuri and the other areas, you know, you ask yourself then, why are always contradicting commands? You know, who really is in charge of a region, of a police commanding in a region? And I foresee a situation where, for example, there's going to be a competition of, you know, power between an AP and a regular police and probably representative of DCI in the same camp. You know, they are fused in the same. This is what the president is proposing, that they be merged, so that So I foresee a situation where, one, like you've alluded to, there's going to be really a serious form of corruption between these agencies, as much who really want to come out as the one really enforcing the rule of law and who's really enforcing power. But then, one thing that struck me about this, and Kenyans are so interesting, I don't know who came up with the idea of these uniforms, you know, because then this kind of uniform, for me, it's so, you know, the color and all these things, you know, sometimes in these services, the pomp and these colors really have to emerge with, do we really expect austerity? Do we really expect service delivery? Or we expect beauty in what we see? Because for me, I'm more comfortable with the previous uniforms that we had. But these ones really, I really don't know who came up with. And like my friend have said, always in a change, there is someone who benefits. And from these, I would like to ask, who was given the tender to do these uniforms as well? I would not shy away from asking them. Somebody is making a kill from these reforms and these changes.
Interestingly, the president pointed out that the purpose for the invention of the new uniform was to ensure that there is more police visibility. That is the exact words he used in the speech. I mean, the other parliamentary, which was used by or worn by the AP, looked like a bit of a military or jungle uniform. That's the term, and it's because of the dissolving here. And you mentioned the fact that there's going to be a conflict of interest, but in the new proposals or new changes, it is meant to address, Daniel. I just want to pick up on this point: wastage, duplication, and overlap.
But then, if that is the intention, which I think probably well intended for, we are still having, you know, same number of police officers who are still fused in one of these police stations. And I think President Kenyatta said that we are now is going to gazette these chiefs camps or these administrative camps as a police post, which means there's going to be an additional funding in terms of facilitating the efficiency of running these. So one of the way, remember, police reforms was one of the Agenda 4. You remember the 2008 Agenda 4. And I think fast-tracking the Agenda 4, especially in institution reforms like the police, was one. And I agree that we no longer have a police force. We now have a police service. But then we should see more services because the taxpayers are actually paying a lot of them to expect the services opposed to this kind of forces that we see. But then we've even seen there's still a lot of corruption still taking place within the police service. So I really don't think is an intention that is well meant for, but its delivery, its actualization is going to be a very difficult thing moving forward. Okay, pick up from there, Victor Marende. When you look at the entire happenings in the quarters of the police service in the country, what we have are piled up cases of accusations of corruption, impunity, often, I mean, issues that the public says is going to be corroding the police service in the country, and that has been at some point vindicated, or testament to that is the fact that the conduct of police in the country hasn't been fairly off in terms of the public feeling. But looking at it from the perspective of the president, does it look like a piecemeal change that perhaps ushers in a general change, because there has been the call for the total implementation of police reforms in the country, because what we have in the country is a police service, no longer a police force, as is the situation in Tanzania or Uganda, where they are called askari jeshi?
Now, number one, we have to look at what the president envisaged when he was doing this. Now, there is change in command. He's changed the uniforms. Now, he's insisted that there needs to be retraining of the APs and the Kenya Police. And finally, he's done more structural changes to the Directorate of Criminal Investigation. So basically, he's done serious changes. And in the run-up to the fight to corruption in this country, the police have played a major role. There have been claims of people evading the law by simply paying the police, number one. Number two, in the 2004 Agenda 4, there were recommendations to change this police service and do some particular changes. Now, when Kriegler wrote a report in this country, in the post-election violence in 2007, 2008, there were recommendations to this particular effect. Now, what the president did, number one, in command, Now, we've had, for example, the position of an AP regional commandant.
Okay.
And, for example, the Kenya Police regional commander. Now, these people have always done the same thing. Now, you realize that in this change of command, 12 positions have been scrapped off. Now, when we scrap off 12 positions and amalgamate these 12 to only 3, then that makes more sense. So the conflict that we are foreseeing might as well not happen.
Okay.
Because this is a disciplined force, number
Okay.
one. Number two, we've changed the command from the 12 guys we had to only 3. So it means there are only 3 centers of power here. Now, as we speak about these centers of power, we've given them particular roles
Okay.
to also perform. Now, what are these particular roles? Now, the Inspector General
Okay.
has now been put in charge of something directly, so that then all these forces report to the Inspector General. Now, at the Inspector General's office,
Okay.
now he has several deputies. Now, with these several deputies having been in charge
Okay.
of each and every particular thing, now we are talking about people security here.
Okay.
Now, when we talk about people security, after that, we talk about boundary security. Now, what are the problems we've had in this country?
Okay.
To the effect that the police have not been able to solve because of the usurping of roles. Number one, we've had border wars.
Okay.
This is the only country where we've seen Luos and Kalenjins fighting at the border. And we have the APs and we have the Kenya police, and we have no single person to
Okay.
blame
Okay.
because we don't know who is in charge of this.
Okay.
Now we have a deputy IG
Okay.
in charge of border
Okay.
security.
Does it ease the entire, overlapping of roles here? Because we also have the regional commander, AP, the Kenya Police, the DCI, the Kenya Police County Commander, the AP County Commander, the DCI County Commander, sub-county commanders from all the 3 arms of the National Police Service, OSPD District, AP Commander and AP Ward Commander. All of them have been scrapped off.
Yes.
Okay, will it help ease the problem we have?
It gives an easier chain of command.
Okay.